What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Comic Breakdown. And in today's video, we're going to be covering the entire 24 issues of Ultimate Spider-Man. The full story right here for you guys to enjoy. Having Tony Stark, aka Iron Lad, make his way to Peter Parker with an origin box. Iron Lad has been passing out these boxes to all the heroes that should have existed in the Maker's universe. But when the Maker prevented everybody from getting powers, specifically Peter Parker, Tony tried to reverse this. He tried to bring the heroes back. This is Peter Parker's story. Alright gang, so as we dive into this issue, the month is currently January. We have a middle-aged Peter Parker standing in front of a mirror, looking at himself, seeing that he's not getting any younger. But we see him get dressed, he heads into the living room, into the kitchen, and this is where he is greeted by his two children, Richard and May. With the two kids sitting down, having breakfast, getting ready for school. Peter Parker grabs a cup of coffee, and this is when he sees his wife come into the room, the always beautiful Mary Jane. This is really just showing us that Peter Parker has a regular, everyday, normal life. He's a regular old family man. But we see him head off to work. Going to the Daily Bugle, as he goes inside, Jonah is screaming for Parker. With Peter going up to him, we quickly learn that Jonah isn't yelling for Peter, as Jonah storms off still screaming for Parker. This is what takes us to Ben Parker, managing editor at the Daily Bugle. But the two of them, they begin discussing, a meeting they have going on, talking about pushing it back. This is just regular, everyday office life. But we see the rapport between Jonah and Ben. These two are old friends. They spent a lot of time working together. Peter even makes a comment that these two should have their own show. But as Ben and Peter begin to head out, Jonah stops him and tells him that he should be wearing a tie. Jonah takes off his own tie and gives it to Peter. We're seeing how close the relationship between Jonah and Peter has grown over all of these years working together. But the two of them head off on this cold January night, and they head to a memorial, an act of terror taking Aunt May's life. And the man standing before everybody talking about all of this is none other than Father Murdoch, the blind priest telling everybody about the trauma that they have endured, of how to make sense of all the madness, of all the craziness, of the depression, of the sadness. We also learned that Norma and Emily Osborn had lost their lives. Coming to speak today is Harry Osborn. Now, Harry gives a speech that is a little bit dark. A man that doesn't seem he's able to move on. Heading back to the Daily Bugle, they see that Jonah is storming out of a meeting and he is saying he quits. So Ben Parker goes into the room to see what is going on. And what is happening is that they are having a change of editors. The board is taking the paper in a different direction, that they have been getting a number of ever-increasing complaints from their advertisers, specifically about their more inflammatory content. Not only that, but their lack of coverage when it comes to the Tony Stark terror attack that took Aunt May's life. This is when it pans over and we see that the head of this board, it is none other than Wilson freaking Fisk. And what Fisk is letting him know is that you should be thankful for the position that you have, for everything that we have given you. That now that Jonah has quit, you can take his place. You have the promotion, but only if you are willing to toe the line. With Ben Parker walking out of the office, he sees Jonah in the elevator. Walking over to the elevator, he gets in with Jonah, and he asks him, "What are we going to do now?" Insinuating that Ben Parker also quit and walked out. Later that evening, this is where we pick up with Kingpin. Getting out of his vehicle, we see a huge explosion. The vehicle erupts in flames. Kingpin is shot back, and what we see up in the sky is none other than Green Goblin. With Green Goblin attempting the murder of Kingpin. We pick up later at the bar with no name. We have Jonah and Ben who are sitting here having a beer, discussing what their future is going to look like, how they're going to operate their new paper, because that's their goal right now. Do their own news. The only problem, Ben wants to focus only on the truth. while Jonah understands that this business is much more dirty than simply telling the truth. That sometimes you have to bend the truth, you have to manipulate things, you have to ensure that people are going to buy your paper, make sure that they look at your news, so on and so forth. It's seeming that before this operation even gets off the ground, the two of them are butting heads. But Jonah does make a compromise, saying, "We'll promise not to lie." With this conversation coming to an end, that's where Peter Parker shows up, with Jonah taking off, also letting Peter know that he's got a job with their new company if he so wants one. But he goes on to ask Ben, how do you do it? How do you blow up your life in one afternoon and then just start onto a new thing? But for Ben, his wife is dead. Peter's a grown man. He has a family of his own. He just couldn't be in the industry of compromise any longer. He has nothing to lose in his eyes. So for him, this was an easy choice. But really, he wants to know what's going on with Peter, because obviously he is struggling with something. Now, Peter admits that his life, it is fantastic. His relationship with MJ is great. But for the longest time, he has thought that something is wrong with his life, that something was wrong with him, a thing that he couldn't explain. But now he knows that he has been right all along, and he's not sure what direction to go. Ben tells him not to spend his life waiting for something to happen. He tells him to make it happen. Right now, you're walking around half asleep, that it's time for you to finally wake up. We pick up later that evening with MJ and Peter. The two of them put the kids down to bed, they have a glass of wine. And she asked Peter, what's going on with you? Because you have been walking around the last day like something is broken inside of you. Like you can't figure out what to do next. But he is telling MJ that he needs a change. Not with his family, not with his relationship, just a change. This is when she tells him that I know you better than anybody on this planet. That he has been walking around for years with a cloud over his head. He puts on a good face, but she knows that he is not satisfied with the man that he is today, and he knows what he needs to do now. Things aren't gonna change between them, so of course, MJ supports this fully. Whatever it is he needs to do, she tells him to do it. This is where he grabs a small orb out of his bag. He takes that orb up to a rooftop, and we are shown last night. Last night, sitting in his living room, this is when something happens. A box activates, appearing before him, and a hologram of Tony Stark with a pre-recorded message. He introduces himself as Tony Stark. He says, while it is likely you know my father's name, you may not know mine. Unfortunately, everybody knows the name Tony Stark right now. He is sending this message from 6 months into the future. He goes into very small detail on the events that have transpired. He says that there is an element of faith that is going to depend on you doing what needs to be done. But he tells him to listen carefully. A small orb inside a box telling him that this is for you. There is also a suit that will mask your identity. Tony going into detail that 20 years ago, you were supposed to be bitten by a radioactive spider. This was supposed to give you amazing powers. And with them, you would become one of Earth's most prominent superheroes. Instead, the Unmaker, a great evil, time traveled and erased almost all of the world's heroes from existence. Peter Parker was one of them. Now, Tony Stark is repeating this with others like him, and in 6 months, if he has done this correctly, he will walk out of the room he is in, and he will find Earth's mightiest heroes before them. Together, they will make the world free again. He tells Peter that you are supposed to have a different life. You were supposed to protect the innocent, save lives, and inspire the citizens of this world to be their best selves. All of that was taken from you. These people stole your future. They robbed you of your destiny. The question now remains, do you want it back? This is where Peter opens up that vial, the radioactive spider inside. He thinks about Ben. He thinks about MJ. He puts that spider on his hand. And this is the day that Ultimate Spider-Man was born. Alright gang, so as we dive into this issue, we pick up in February. We see Spider-Man in a completely blacked out suit. This is his first suit. As we see Peter that morning with his children Richard and May, they look at the Daily Bugle and they see this individual. May is a little bit scared that this guy might actually be real. She just doesn't like it. Now Peter tries to let her know that that guy's not real. It's probably CGI like her brother said. But everybody heads out for the day, and this is where we pick up Peter suited up out there at night. Over the past few weeks, he's changed a lot. He has begun to test out his abilities. He knows that he is super strong, super agile, reaction time on point. The only real issue he is having is that as he swings through the city, he's not good at landing. This is where we see him crash into a water tower, and this has shown him that he can take one heck of a beating. For what he has planned, he's probably gonna need it. He knows that this city has a lot of corruption, and somebody's gotta do something. This is where we pick up with Jameson and Ben Parker, the two of them talking about things that are currently ongoing. There was an attempt on Wilson Fisk's life. A mysterious individual flying around in a green suit. This is the third attempt, all in a 3-week span, all the same guy. And they joke about there's no way they're gonna read about this in the Daily Bugle. Wilson Fisk would never allow it. But what they have been doing is posting Spider-Man everywhere. They have shifted the entire focus away from Green Goblin as the two of them begin to get to work and figure out what's truly going on here. We pick up with Peter. As he swings through the city, he sees something that seems a little out of place. A guy fully armored up, getting ready to break into the bank. And in the classic Peter Parker style, he comes up asking the guy if he lost his keys, trying to figure out what this guy's actually up to up here. They begin to talk and, Peter really lets him know this is the first time I've ever done something like this. And the guy lets him know, you know what, you caught me doing this. They clearly, whatever I had planned, it was wrong. I shouldn't be doing it. You coming up here, stopping me, it made me think about it just a little bit deeper, and I decided I'm gonna head home. Peter falling for this, shaking his hand, and he says to call me the Shocker. This is when the Shocker blasts Spider-Man with some kind of electrical current. This shoots him right off the building and right into a dumpster. As he heads home that night, taking this defeat, he heads home only to find that his daughter is standing there in the hallway. May sees him and she is terrified. She sees that scary man that was on the front page of the Daily Bugle is in fact real. Not only is he real, but he is standing in our house. Peter, recognizing how serious this could get, he quickly takes it off. But what's unique about this suit is it seems like it almost disintegrates off of his head. It doesn't fall back like regular clothing, almost like it's a symbiote. But he talks to his daughter, lets her know exactly why he is dressed like this. That he got bit by a special spider and it gave him powers, kind of like a magic spider, letting her know that you never have to be afraid of me. And so, finally getting over all of this, the two of them sit down, they share some ice cream, and they talk about what they could do about his suit. Because May is not fond of the color. Taking us over to Wilson Fisk's office, we pick up with the guy that is truly in charge. And it's not Fisk. This is one of the members from the council, from the Makers Council. They're talking about what is on the front page of the Daily Bugle. They're talking about the Green Goblin attacks. Now, this guy's job is to really put everybody in their right place. That he is the one in charge. They divide up all the land, they decide what everything is, the kingdom, so on and so forth. And then each person in charge of said kingdom gets to choose what section of what part people get to have a little bit of power in, like Wilson Fisk. But if Wilson Fisk cannot hold on to his kingdom, he will be replaced with somebody who can. As we pick up later another evening, we have Spider-Man who is out here doing what he does. This is when he runs into the Shocker yet again. This time the Shocker isn't trying to trick him, he just lets down some hate. cracking the concrete, sending Spider-Man back. This time, Peter is able to use his webbing. He tries to wrap him up to try to blind him. He definitely gets some punches in, but then the shocker, he tries to make Spider-Man stop and say, "What would you do if you were in my shoes? I have a wife, I have children, I need to feed them." This makes Peter stop, and his gullibility yet again gets him thrown off of a building. Peter wants to see the best in people. He wants to give them the opportunity. The problem is, these guys are just playing tricks on him, as Peter falls down again into a dumpster. The shocker takes off, but who was watching all of this transpire is none other than the armored Green Goblin. Later that evening, with Peter returning home, in the last few days, he's managed to get his butt kicked twice, but he also accidentally revealed his secret identity to his child. More than that, it scared her. So far, this is not off to a good start for him, thinking maybe he might not be cut out for this work, but seeing something on the fridge, a drawing from his daughter of a red and blue Spider-Man, saying that I drew a picture of your spider and that I hope you like it. You're the best, love, May. The inspiration for his new suit. His inspiration to maybe give this one more day. We pick up with Peter Parker, sitting down on the couch with May, his wife and son getting ready to head out for the day. And the two of them can tell that the father-daughter, they have a little secret. But they assume that it's just good old fun, that the two of them are playing around, they're gonna have a father-daughter day, having cute, innocent fun. And in a way they are, just not in the way that they would have ever believed. This is where we pick up on the rooftop. May and Peter are going through an assortment of different styles that he could go about using as his costume. From an all-black look to a wearing a hitty cool guy look. Maybe a little bit of orange, maybe a little bit of blue. As they go through this, May really deciphers that the best correlation of colors is going to be the red and the blue. And so with the suit picked out, May hops on his back and the two of them begin to swing through the city. Taking us to a little later on, we pick up with Ben, Jonah, and we have Peter as well. He is coming with a gift. These guys have just bought their office space, though this place is definitely not ready to be occupied. The two of them got a lot of work ahead of them. But while they discuss all of this, the budget, so on and so forth, Peter sees a map, and this map is every location that Green Goblin has been hitting. In fact, those at the paper, Peter says that they have been calling him Green Goblin, but any attempt to try to do a story has been shot down by the higher-ups. What Ben and Jonah have figured out is that he appears to be attacking Fisk's operations. Maybe a bad guy versus a good guy, maybe bad guy versus bad guy, who knows in this world. One thing is for certain, they need to investigate and find out what is really going on. And so Peter takes an opportunity, picks out a location, and hopes that this might be a good spot to stake out. His first ever stakeout, thinking that this is going to be grand old fun, only to learn that this is extra boring. Sitting and waiting. Sunshine, pigeons, rain, and everything else in between. Just as Peter is ready to get out of here, this is when the action happens. Green Goblin flying through the sky, and he is chasing down Bullseye. Bullseye has been sent in to shut down Green Goblin. As the two of them battle, Bullseye does get the upper hand. But as they fight, there is a little bit of dialogue between the two. We learn that Bullseye is not working for Fisk. He is working for someone above Fisk. That Fisk is nothing more than a puppet in the grand scheme of things. That he works for the people with real power in this world. The real masters behind everything. As Bullseye gets ready to finish off Green Goblin, this is when Spider-Man interferes. Using his webbing, he stops Bullseye. But then Bullseye turns on Spider-Man, intentionally missing Spider-Man but taking down the crane and scaffolding everything else in between that is behind him. It looks like Spider-Man falls into the wreckage, and then turning to Green Goblin. While Green Goblin tries to fight back, Bullseye gets the upper hand, using cards that electrify his suit and shut it down. As he goes to finish off Green Goblin, Spider-Man comes in and knocks him for a loop. Now, Green Goblin knows that this guy, he works for Fisk or somebody above Fisk. They own a lot of the police. They're worried he's not going to get the proper punishment that he should if they hand him over to the local PD. Strapping his backpack on him, his jetpack on him, we see him fly off, saying that he's going to the same place as everybody else, to a place where things need to be done, a place where everything and everyone have their place. With Bullseye gone, Green Goblin looks over at him and says that's a pretty nice suit, but I think that I recognize it. Pressing a button on his chest, we hear something say, suit pairing enabled, connecting, and then connected. We see the face start to fade away. As it disintegrates, Peter's face is shown. Green Goblin taking off his mask to expose that this is Harry Osborn. Both of them making their introductions, meeting for the first time. And Harry says that I don't know if you recognize, but the world is becoming a very dangerous and violent place. Something both him and Peter can agree with. And so Harry offers up an opportunity to go out for a drink, and thus starts the friendship between Spider-Man and Green Goblin. We pick up with MJ and Peter, the two of them getting out of the house for the evening. They've come to a very fancy establishment, and tonight they are here to meet Harry Osborn. This is an opportunity for Harry to meet MJ, but she still has no idea that Peter is in fact Spider-Man. With the conversation getting underway, this is where we have the arrival of his wife. This is where we have the arrival of Gwen Stacy. Gwen Stacy is married to Harry Osborn. With everybody making their introductions, they all go and sit down and have some food. This is where all the conversation really begins. This is all of them getting to know one another. We begin to understand who Gwen Stacy and Harry Osborn are in this universe. The two of them not having children, though it is something that they might be considering. They're more concerned on the world that they might be bringing them into, that the two of them have been married for 8 years. The conversation goes back and forth like this between them and MJ mostly. That MJ used to do some modeling, but then she got into marketing. The biggest news right now, of course, is her partnership with Uncle Ben. Jameson and Ben Parker are creating their own newspaper, a name that they have just settled on, and that name is The Paper. Of course, Jonah's not extremely happy about this name. Seems almost gimmicky. He's just not a big fan of it. But they didn't want to go with something that seemed too pretentious. Something as simple as The Paper. Something that is meant for everybody. For the everyday citizen. Jumping back over to the dinner, Harry is really letting them know that that's a hard market to get into. That it's a closed system. That he'll soon see exactly why it is not the best line of work to be jumping into. Not the right market. Now, Gwen Stacy, on the other hand, she has an opinion saying that maybe it depends on what they cover, such as the individual that has been swinging around the city, because she says they all miss the point of this masked man, that he exists for a reason, that there must be a purpose. He is fulfilling a need, whether that be good or bad. She would like to believe that he is a good guy, but being a good guy could be more upsetting to the people, because if there is a masked individual out there, this implies that there is something wrong with the world, that somebody needs to fix it. Going on to say that people need heroes. After the conversation, her and MJ head off to the ladies' room. As they fix their hair, do their makeup, and have a discussion, Gwen is a little bit concerned that she's coming on too strong. She's a CEO, she has a lot of pushy tendencies, and so she's making sure that she's not stepping over the line. She wants to make a good impression, and she's not trying to push too hard. But more than that, Gwen has a proposition. Oscorp had taken over Stan Stark. And to be honest, they have too much money. They need to get some off the books. Exhausted all the normal ways, charity, donations, non-profits, so on and so forth. What she is proposing is to set something up with the two grumpy old men from The Paper. Ben and Jonah, because Gwen is in the mood to see if she can launch a pirate ship, picking up with Peter and Harry. Harry is questioning Peter because he knows Peter has not told his wife yet. And Harry reveals that Gwen knows everything. And he tells Peter, I'm not going to keep secrets from my wife. Now, Peter does believe in keeping this a secret, about protecting his family. He worries that them knowing could endanger them. The only reason his daughter knows is because she found out by accident. But Harry pretty much tells him that that's ridiculous, that you can't live your life like that. You know this is something that you want to do. At the end of the day, you are the guy with the powers, with the abilities. You can change this world. You can save this world. And he's not going to tell Peter what he has to do, or even how to do it. It has to be Peter's decision. But what they're up against, these people, they're playing God. They're playing for keeps. And the worst part, they have been doing this their entire lives. It is institutional. It is systematic. It is worldwide. Telling Peter that he has great power. And with great power comes great responsibility. It is only a gift if you use it. Taking us to later that evening, MJ and Peter walking home as they discuss how intense both Gwen and Harry are. Peter is very curious on what MJ thinks about heroes, about the masked individual, about the world needing saving. But MJ just looking at Peter, letting him know, why would I need a hero when I have you? Alright gang, so as we dive into this issue, we pick up with Harry on the phone with his father months ago. Because right now, Harry is fashionably late. This is something that is very consistent with who he is. But tonight of all nights is a night that Harry doesn't want to be late for. At least according to his father, because they have a very important meeting. A meeting that is going to change everything for them moving forward. Unfortunately, that meeting would never take place. Because this night, this is the night that Stark Tower was hit. This is the night that everyone believed Tony Stark was responsible for it. Two of the victims of this attack were Norman Osborn, CEO of Oscorp, and his wife Emily. And this is what leads Harry down the path to discover what all of this truly means, leading him down the path of becoming the Green Goblin and eventually meeting Peter Parker. As we pick up a few weeks after that, Harry and Gwen are sitting down talking about the estate, talking about how everything more or less is being passed down to Harry. Even complete control of the company will be his, but they have to go through litigation and everything else in between. This will take roughly 6 months, and they are not expecting any kind of problems. But there is one more thing. This morning, a card was delivered to be given to Harry. Nothing more on this card than the king chess piece. And while he doesn't really understand what this is for, he tells Harry he knows who it is from. Taking us to the next day, this is where he is meeting up with Kingpin. And Kingpin has really brought him here to ask him a favor. He says that he has 2 5-letter shadows hanging over his head. Of course, referring to Stan and Stark. And he knows the value of Stark's company, but he needs to eliminate any remnants of it to keep it from rising again. And so what he wants to do is sell the entire company to Harry. Taking us 2 weeks later, we pick up with Harry, Gwen, and Otto, Dr. Octavius. They have broken into a vault here at one of the Stark places, taking 2 weeks just to break into it. They were able to get in, and what they find on the inside is the Iron Man suits. All of Tony Stark's father's great work. Not only this, they find out that it's all powered by an arc reactor, that there's a whole database here. There's a whole system set up. Being able to get into the systems, being able to figure out everything that is going on here. That's what picks us up a little bit later on. Doc Ock has finally created the Green Goblin Iron Man suit. And with his creations, Doc goes on to let us know exactly what modifications he has made to this, telling Harry to put on the helmet. When he does so, he sees a vast network, and recently this network has been flooded with pings, new signals appearing all over the place. He is unable to tell if this is old tech or dormant tech that is waking up, or if this is something new. So what they go to do is investigate what each and every one of these things are. This is what led Harry to that rooftop, led him to the burglar with the electrified gauntlets. And Green Goblin goes goes on to learn that this guy robbed somebody. That's how he got the gauntlets. And they came with a box from Iron Man. Now Green Goblin knows that Stark is alive. He plans to figure out exactly where he is and what is going on. This is what picks us up with Harry and Peter meeting for the first time. And at first, both of them kind of evade the topic at hand. Both of them at this point, they know who is who. They know their alter egos, their secret identities. They know that one of them is Green Goblin and one of them is Spider-Man. Though they dance around this idea. But it gets to a point where Harry comes straight out and just asks, did Tony Stark appear to you out of thin air and give you your suit? Or did you get it another way? Did you find out the hard way like Harry had to? Explaining to Peter exactly what that means, that after the Stark incident, he inherited his father's company, and that he was basically given Stark's company as well. But when he was reading through all the Stark family secrets, he found out the people who gave him this company, they might just be the most evil people in the history of the world, and that they are very possible responsible for his parents' death and not Stark. And so he has found himself doing a new job. Of course, Peter goes on to explain that Tony told him he was supposed to be a hero, that his life had been stolen from him. And after seeing everything that he has seen, Peter knows this to be true. He knows that there has been something missing his entire life. And seeing the state of the world, he has no other option than to be a hero. This is what brings us up to present day. Green Goblin having Bullseye in custody. He has him tied up to a chair, and he knows how committed to the cause Bullseye is. But Harry is equally as committed. He is here to get answers out of Bullseye by any means necessary. And Bullseye really doesn't believe that he has what it takes to do what is necessary to get the information and save the world as he should. But as Harry says, his father always talked about the difference between being a boy and being a man. Then maybe he was right. Maybe Bullseye is too. But if he's a boy or a man, a hero or something else, we're about to find out. But when everybody sees his face, of course they're gonna have questions. Parker's face has just been obliterated. It is more than obvious he took a beating. Now, of course, he tries to play this off. He tries to really deter it, go in a different direction with it, but while they're having this conversation, his daughter, being as young as she is, cannot help but blurt out that happened to him because he was being a superhero. And with this information coming out, MJ's gonna have a lot more questions. This is where he goes on to explain to his family exactly how this happened, which takes us to last night. We pick up with Green Goblin and Spider-Man. Currently, they are standing outside the Fisk building. They are preparing to ambush Kingpin, but Spider-Man's really not sure if he wants to do this. This is all new to him. Mystery boxes popping up, men in the shadows. He's also never broken into somebody's house before. He's never even broken a law. But Spider-Man gets the courage to do what he believes needs to be done. Him and Green Goblin jump in through the sky windows. The only problem, Kingpin wasn't surprised. As he pours himself a drink, he lets them know that he knows they've been up there. He knows that they have been scouting him out for days. And if he's being honest with them, he has been wondering how long it was going to take for them to come make their introductions. But he goes on to ask, what do you want? And what the Green Goblin wants is the name of his employers. That he knows this goes very deep. They're here to find out exactly how deep this all goes. Wondering how he came upon this information, Harry lets Kingpin know that I pulled it out of your guy. Pulled the information out of Bullseye. This is where Kingpin decides that he's gonna handle this situation himself. Pressing a button, all of the walls, they come down with bars. They have just been trapped in this room with Kingpin. And Kingpin does not hesitate to charge in, throwing a table at Green Goblin. Spider-Man goes full defense, webbing his face and trying to strike at Wilson Fisk. This situation is getting out of hand quickly, with Green Goblin throwing a grenade. When the smoke clears, all we see is Kingpin. But Kingpin, he's done some self-improvement. He has recently upgraded himself. We don't really know to the fullest extent, but we know that he can take a grenade straight to the freaking face and not have a bit of damage. As he charges Green Goblin, we can see the Green Goblin suit begins to crack. With Kingpin laying down some hate, he smashes the face of Green Goblin, cracking Harry's helmet wide open, exposing his eye, proclaiming, "Oh God." In this moment, Green Goblin thinks that his life very well may be over. Luckily, Spider-Man is still here, and while Spider-Man's able to grab his fist, Kingpin grabs hold of Spidey and smashes him into the ground. And then he just doesn't pull any punches, hitting him with combos left and right. Spider-Man is no match for this fight. The two of them together are no match for this fight. Harry, knowing that they gotta get out of here, he uses his glider, activating a missile. This blows a hole in the wall and it gives them the opportunity to run away. They just found out what they're truly up against when it comes to Kingpin. And so as we pick up with his family yet again, obviously they all still got a little bit of questions. His teenage son wondering, the moral and ethical aspects of this. Because technically you broke into somebody's house and you tried to beat him up. By all standards, this is breaking the law. Of course, Peter gives the justification that he is a very bad man doing very bad things. That there has to be somebody out there to stop this man. And if he's being honest, he will probably have to fight him again. That they can't let bad people do bad things to good people. But he also reminds his family that they have to keep this a secret. Apologizing to May and his whole family, letting them know that he really is sorry that he didn't tell them. He thought it was for the best. He thought keeping a secret was smart, but when May found out 4 months ago, he really should have said something. But as they send the kids off to bed so MJ and him can have a conversation, Peter's gotta wonder how angry his wife is. But if she's being honest, she's not mad. It's very confusing. She's really just trying to grab a hold, a grasp on what all of this means and how it's going to change their lives. But mostly, she's proud. She's scared, she's impressed, and then there's kinda some other feelings going along with this as well. And so this is where he shows off his Spidey suit. Now she wants a little bit of a demonstration. She wants to see how much stronger and faster he really is. But she goes on to ask, "What's your code name? When you're in costume, what is the name that you go by?" MJ says that it really is obvious. You're Spider-Man. We're picking up with Peter, Harry, and Dr. Octavius. Currently, Dr. Octavius is looking over the suit of Green Goblin. And while the Doc does this, Spider-Man's really not sure if he's okay with Dr. Octavius being here. Not really knowing who he is, though Harry is vouching for him, saying that he's a genius, that he's been around forever, he worked for his father, so on and so forth. So he's someone that can be trusted. But Dr. Octavius goes into explaining exactly where they're at. That these suits are both Stark tech, but they were built using two different completely types of engineering. So you have Stark 1.0 and Stark 2.0. Harry's suit is basically a dedicated piece of very sophisticated hardware. Top of the line, flawless. If Dr. Octavius was pressed, he would call it the perfect war machine. Has AI on board, navigation, propulsion, the whole 9 yards. But more than that, you can customize it to whatever you want. But the Pico tech that Spider-Man has, this is beyond that. Highly adaptable, transformable, and both of the suits are running on the same network. They don't have to. They can operate independently. This is why Harry was able to shut down Spider-Man's suit. Dr. Octavius continuing on saying that the suits, they've been in safe mode this whole time. They have an onboard AI that you can use for anything. Combat analysis, life support, any kind of higher function problem solving really. They just have to turn them on and give them a profile to map it. And when he says profile, you gotta think of it like a personality. But it's more than that. It's like a base level consciousness. He has prepared several prototypes. He's got Napoleon, Lincoln, Caesar, Gandhi, even made one of Dr. Octavius if they want to use that. Peter, he prefers to hear himself. which they can do. They can get a biometric, a brain scan of his mind, and the AI can be a base level consciousness of Peter Parker. Now, Harry, on the other hand, he wants his father. Picking up with Jonah and Ben Parker, they've come to meet somebody in a shady little parking garage. All very cloak and dagger, all very secretive. They're kind of making fun of the situation, but they get handed an envelope. And when they open this envelope up, they see that this is not no small thing. The person that's being cloak and dagger is Robbie Robertson, somebody that worked at the Bugle with them, but he's not allowed to publish the story, afraid of who is watching, who might be looking. He is giving it to Ben and Jonah so that they can follow up in the story. But more than that, Robbie is agreeing to be their inside man, that maybe eventually he'll come over to their side and work for them. But for the time being, he's gonna be their spy, if you will. Hopping over to a meeting taking place with Captain Britain and Wilson Fisk. And Britain is really just admitting that Fisk was right. This situation has grown into a much larger problem than he first believed. A lesson that he learned recently, and we can see that in Ultimates issue number 1. But he does say he has a solution. He has come bearing gifts. He has now gifted him, an entire team of agents. Going on to say that it embarrasses him that he lacks a more subtle out. But he supposes that there are worse ideas throwing numbers at problems. But when offered with this gift, Wilson Fisk says no thank you, that he knows his adversaries. He knows they can be beaten. He knows how to do it, and he will do it on his own terms. When asked about what his plan is to handle the situation, Wilson Fisk says that it's not one plan, but 6 of them. Taking us back over to Peter and Harry. The two of them have been doing just a little bit of hand-to-hand combat, just so Dr. Octavius can get an understanding of the systems, of tactical scenarios. The next step is activating the suit's AI and recording changes in any functionality. But once they're on, they're on. To turn it off would be, completely turning off the systems for good. So there is no going back and doing this again. And with them being electrified, Harry's father almost instantly begins to speak to him, telling everybody to show what you've got. And Peter's is really just him talking to himself, telling him how good of a father he is, that he should get some presents for the kids. And Peter starts to think that maybe this isn't the best idea. But Green Goblin says that they're doing this thing. And so the two of them begin to brawl. They begin to exchange blows. But Peter is now seeing that Harry's not just playing around. He's playing for keeps. His father's voice in his head egging him on, pushing him to go farther, telling him that he is useless. He tells him that he is weak, that he's an embarrassment. And in this anger, he blasts Spider-Man with his chest as he goes flying back. Spider-Man's asking, are we good? Are we okay? I just got hit hard. But the AI is telling him he's fine. At most, in this situation, Harry just needs some therapy. This is when Dr. Octavius lets them know that he is picking up a third carrier signal. There is another Stark suit. Something else is on the network. Something is tapping in. That is when we hear the voice of Iron Lad. Tony Stark has made his arrival. He told Peter he would be back in 6 months. And so here he is. And now Iron Lad has only one question for Spider-Man. Are you a hero yet? Alright gang, so as we dive into this issue, we're getting a little bit of an interaction between Peter and this AI that had been generated. Peter decided to have his little AI counterpart, I guess you can call it, be a replica of his own mind. But even when he's not wearing the suit, this thing can still talk. This thing is a perfect replica of his psyche, but it's also housed in a totally independent, completely adaptable Pico shell. And when it says that it can do all kinds of things, we don't really know what it's insinuating, but it's kind of ominous. This is what picks us up 3 weeks ago. We pick up with the arrival of Tony Stark, and getting right into it, Tony's asking, what's the first thing you want to ask me? Now, there's a lot of questions that they got, but they want to know about the suits, why they're different, different? Why is his different? Now, he says that the suit is his latest breakthrough that his father had made. It was the last thing that his father made him. The Pico tech is revolutionary, way beyond anything that they even know how to make. When he was putting together the package to send back in time, he thought it should go with who needed it most, someone special. But Peter goes on to ask what makes him so special. And Tony's a little shocked about this at first, surprised that he doesn't know yet. But something hasn't happened. There's an event that needs to take place, and then he'll truly understand. But he tells him that he's special because he's top of the list, that there is a database that exists when the guy who built this great society was eliminating all the potential resistance or opposition. There's a handful of heroes he deemed mission critical, the ones that absolutely had to go. Now, they already know about the Maker a little bit, about what he did. When Green Goblin tells Tony that he better not be lying about this because they don't have any records of this, Tony says that he's not lying, but he's very curious on who he is, considering the armor that he's wearing right now is stolen armor. This is when Tony puts his hand on the Green Goblin's chest and reveals his face. And he knows that this is Harry Osborn, the man that stole his birthright. But Tony's not even really worried about this. The Maker returns in a little over a year. They need to be ready for him. Before Tony leaves, Harry does ask the question, "Where was I on the list?" And Tony lets him know that he wasn't even on the list at all, saying that if you're going to be hanging out with Spider-Man, you'll probably grow into the suit. To keep it, to keep the company, he's moved on to bigger things, that he'll be in touch. And so with him taking off, we pick up a little bit later that day. We pick up with Ben, Peter, and Jonah. They are currently at the bakery picking up a cake for the kid's birthday, and they're letting Peter know that the paper has officially launched, or at least they have an official launch date. And when it goes live, they want Peter there. The way Peter sees it, he's worked for the Bugle for over a decade. This is his career. There's security in this job, a 401k, the whole 9 yards. That there's a lot of stuff going on, he's just not sure if it's the right time yet. And while he doesn't explicitly say no, he knows that he's gonna have to talk to MJ about this. Taking us to later that day, we pick up at arcades. And anybody that matters to the Parker family is here today. They are all here celebrating the birthday. As they begin to cut the cake, everybody enjoys this fabulous day. We pick up at Fisk Tower. The last of his Sinister Six are now arriving. Now his team, each of these individuals controls a borough in the city. So we have Kingpin. He rules Manhattan with an iron fist. But the other 5 territories, those leaders tend to be less direct while exercising control. Martin Lee, for example, the CEO of the Fest Foundation by day, but by night, he runs the gang known as the Demons. The Demons hold the Queens tightly in their grasp. Their dominion is untraceable. Mr. Negative possesses psychological superhuman abilities, namely that of mind control. It is a secret that is closely held and easily maintained. But then there's Walter Hardy, once considered the greatest top-floor thief in the world. The notorious Black Cat seemingly retired after never been caught. Once retired, he used his acquired wealth to really consolidate and control his territory in the Bronx. Then there is Sergei Kravinoff, the Hunter, a billionaire oligarch excommunicated from Russia during the Rasputin Purge. The mutants were very clear. He is no longer welcome in the motherland. He is a hunter, born of a long line of hunters. He is hunted and killed, always hunting in pairs. One he kills and one he saves. Both trophies he preserves. One is displayed in his lair, the other the public zoo. That zoo, Staten Island. And then we have another, the man known as Mysterio, having control over Brooklyn. Besides the fact that this guy's name is Mysterio, they know nothing else about him. But with his arrival, Fisk enters the room. Now, most people will say that there are only 5 boroughs, but there are actually 6. This is where we have the arrival of Mole Man, the oldest and most loyal comrade to Wilson Fisk, as he gathers up his Sinister Six. He lets them know that the city is his, and what is his, he has divided over the years and given a portion to each of them. But the city has an infestation. Rats have forgotten their place. When asked if they should catch or kill these individuals, Wilson Fisk says that he would much rather make a game of this. And thus, Spider-Man's Rogue Gallery has formed. Alright gang, so as we pick up with this issue, we're picking up with Ben and Jonah. And this issue is going to hugely focus on the two of them. Right now, they're headed to a golf course in Long Island to meet up with a specific lawyer, one that will be having lunch at the clubhouse at noon. Ever since they went out and did their own thing, creating their own paper, they've been investigating Fisk, his whole operation, trying to figure out what truly is going on behind the scenes. And it all starts right here later on that day in Long Island. Ben and Jonah both sit down with the lawyer. They're here to have a conversation, and this conversation starts out exactly how you would expect it to start out. The lawyer is very condescending, very rude. That is, of course, until Ben and Jonah pull out some paperwork that kind of gets him quivering. Paperwork that is authorizing the sale of Stan Stark to an offshore company owned by another offshore company, so on and so on. And Ben knows that if he spends enough time on this, he can get down to the true source of what's going on. But he figured he'd skip some steps, try to see if the lawyer would illuminate the situation in any manner. But he kind of brushes them off and tells them that they need to look elsewhere. More or less, he's telling them to screw off. And with security showing up, that's exactly what they do. But they understand the situation. As we pick up a week later, they're starting to piece it all together. Stan Stark had sold to a holding company called TSSC. Then it was purchased by another offshore company by the name of Dinos. From there, it splits into 2 different companies. This thing breaks apart so many times. And over a 30-day period, it is continuously bought. So every 30 days, someone's buying this property, buying and selling, buying and selling, buying and selling. But it appears that it all ends up at Oscorp. That's what takes us to 1 week later. We pick up at Oscorp Industries. Miss Gwen sitting at her seat having a conversation with Jonah and Ben. And Gwen is very direct. And so Jonah spills it all out for her, lets her know exactly what's going on, lets her know that they're going to be running a story soon. One about a company that has been bought and sold time and time and time again, somehow falling under the Oscorp umbrella. This is the implication that Oscorp owns it. And that's the story that they're working on. They know that there was a bunch of technology that was wrapped up into all of this, and now they're wondering what happened to all of it. And why does it all suddenly coincide with people flying through the air in armored suits? The last question, are you the one secretly financing all of this? The only comment she has to make on it is that she wants her money back. This really lets us assume that she had no idea what was going over and more or less got screwed over. Or at least that's how she wants it to appear. As we pick up later on that day, we have Mary Jane talking with Ben. All of them back at home currently, but the conversation is about Gwen. All they know is that she wasn't really happy, but she didn't get into the specifics. The question that Gwen really wants to know though, when you're gonna run this story. How long till it goes live? And Ben tells her that we're gonna run it in a week, so let Gwen know that's the timeline. As we pick up 2 days later, we have Harry. Harry is meeting up with Jonah and Ben. And they had made a bet on this when he had told MJ to tell Gwen that this was a 1 week timeline. It was only a matter of time before one of them showed up. They set the over-under at 3 days before he showed up. Jonah took the under. Harry kind of mocking them because it appears that they're just playing at a game here. But he wants to know, what do I have to do for you not to write this story about Oscorp. This is when they let him know that they're not writing a story about Oscorp, and they're not playing any games with him. Now, Ben goes on to say that they've only spoken a few times, and he may have had complicated interactions with Harry's father, but he has a hard time believing that he bought and very carefully hid Stan Stark with bad intentions in his heart. His wife died the same way that Harry's parents had died. Asking what they're writing the story about then, they say it's hard not to notice the coordinated timing between Oscorp taking that company over and the emergence of green armor flying through the air. What they think is that Oscorp took existing Iron Man technology, put a new coat of paint on it, shined it up real nice for a new show, and then more than that, he believes that either Harry or Gwen are the one in the suit. This is when Harry activates his arm gauntlets. And yet again, another bet is lost. Jonah bet it was the wife. As Harry's starting to get really ticked off, now he's trying to figure out what the hell you guys are up to. But they're not writing a story about the Green Goblin. The real question, they now know that Fisk enabled the sale of the company to Oscorp. Also know that him and his spider friend have been waging a two-person war against Fisk Empire. So why would Fisk sell all of this knowing that it could destroy him? And that is because Fisk didn't know. He didn't know that buried deep down, there was a hidden record of all the things that Fisk had done and the people who control Fisk, what they have been up to for decades. He learned that they're evil. He learned that they're as old as the history of man, kind of evil, and that they have to be stopped. This is when he gives them a thumb drive. He says that they are the ones that did this. They are the ones that killed his parents. They are the one that killed Ben's wife. What is on this thumb drive is a rabbit hole. Everything Oscorp has on record about the man who made this world the way it is, his council that is running it, and what they really are, what really happened to the Starks and Fisk. This is where his story starts. If you have the courage to write this story, it is one that will grow. These people are dangerous, they are ruthless. And as we pick up later, the two of them sitting down writing this story out, they had a plan to kind of cover their tracks. They're about to explode the freaking world. They created a fictional name to hide behind, a fictional newsman to throw him off the scent, the most explosive story to release in years. And the author of this story is Ben Reilly. And this is what's going to jump us into issue number 11. We pick up with Spider-Man trying to get a hold of Harry, going as far as reaching out to Otto, trying to figure out what the hell's going on and where is he? He seemed to have just disappeared off the face of the earth. So with Dr. Octavius trying to find him in some way, shape, or form, Spider-Man finds himself currently preoccupied taking down some robbers. Being at the right place at the right time, he swings down, jumps through the window, and starts taking these guys down one by one. And for Spider-Man, these guys are quick work. They are no match for our webbed hero, but they haven't come alone. When he thinks he has this situation handled, this is where we have the arrival of Mr. Negative. This is the first time that the two of them have had a face-to-face confrontation, and Negative is well aware of what Spider-Man is capable of. But Mr. Negative doesn't want to really test any of this right here and right now, so what he does is he controls the people and turns them against him. As everybody grabs hold of Peter Parker, he has no option but to try and escape. He doesn't want to hurt these innocent people, so he can't punch them, he can't hurt them. This gives Negative and his henchmen the opportunity to get out of here, while Spider-Man tries to flee for his life while these people are trying to tear him apart. Later that evening, being able to get back home, he gets home and he is greeted by MJ. And coming in the shape he is in, MJ obviously has some questions for him. More than anything though, I think Mary Jane is more concerned about Peter Parker. So far, she's been really cool about this whole being a superhero, being Spider-Man thing. But she wants to know, what should she do if she's starting to freak out a little bit? The truth is, Peter never really even got into a fight before all this. The only real fight he had was Flash Thompson in 8th grade, and he beat the crap out of Peter. and he does hate the violence, but it does feel good to stop somebody. When you have the power and the ability to stop somebody from hurting somebody else, there is something that feels good about that, the capability that he has to help people. But she wants Peter to promise that if you get to the point that you're scared or we're scared or we should worry, you need to let me know. And he tells her that if it gets to a point, I say we need to go. If there comes a day where I say we need to run, I will let you know when that day comes. But until then, please don't worry. As we pick up with Kingpin, what remains of the Sinister Six. Though Black Cat is here, Black Cat's daughter is now taking over. Mr. Negative is talking about his stalemate with Spider-Man. Knowing that the opportunity wasn't primed up, Spider-Man just got done taking down like 4 of his goons in a matter of 2 minutes. He knew it wasn't the prime opportunity to try and take him down. Kingpin more or less asserting his dominance in this situation, letting them all know that they work for him, that this is his kingdom in rebellion, and they're gonna start carrying their weight and getting things back into order. This is when Ben and Peter sit at Memorial Park and have a conversation. Coming for the memorial of Aunt May, they are putting down some flowers, but they have a very important conversation here. He tells Peter that Aunt May would have loved what you're doing, and he's not talking about Peter's photos. Looking at Peter, Peter immediately knows that Ben knows. It took him about a week to figure it out after they figured out who Harry was. But Ben says, don't tell me. Don't even say it out loud. Never again to anybody. Asking how many people know. Peter says that 6 may be 7 unless Jonah knows. And Jonah doesn't know yet, but he's gonna figure it out eventually. But he tells Peter that you have to try harder to keep this secret. Make some changes, do whatever you have to. But Ben knows that these people are evil, that they have to stand up to it. But before Peter takes off, Ben says one more thing to him. He says that he's old enough. He's lived a good life. He's lived long enough to see the woman he loves buried and gone. And while every day he misses her, he had a good life, that he's fine with whatever happens next. Can Peter say the same thing? And Peter tells him that he can't. Something that maybe Peter should keep in mind. This is what is going to take us into issue number 12. Now, issue number 12 is relatively uneventful. This is mostly focused around Christmas time. And right now, everybody is showing up. Ben, Jonah, Peter's here, MJ's sister, Gail is here. The whole family. Everyone has shown up. Everyone's here to have a good time. And we see kind of the relationship dynamics of everybody. MJ and Gail have been at each other's throats for a very long time, but through the course of this issue, we really see them make up. Now, we don't need to dive too much into the dialogue of what is happening here. This is really just relationship building, kind of character building on the individuals that are in these stories, how their lives are all intertwined. Really, though, this is one of their last moments of peace before everything goes chaotic. Throughout this whole night, Little May was trying to let her mother know that Gwen Stacy had been calling. The whole night she had been ignoring this. That is until she finally answers the phone. And Gwen has been trying to get a hold of them all night long. She hasn't heard from Harry in 6 days. Now she needs to know, does Peter have any idea where he is? This is when Peter kind of goes silent. MJ goes to grab him and notices that this isn't Peter. He turns around, his eyes as black as the night, and he says, "Merry Christmas." Elsewhere, what we see is Kraven the Hunter. Kraven has gotten hold of both Harry and Peter. He has them chained up, hooked to IVs, keeping them alive, torturing them. And this is just the beginning of their pain. Alright gang, so as we dive into issue number 13, we're picking up with The Hunt. With Harry and Peter both missing, there's a new Spider-Man that is swinging from the rooftops. This Spider-Man is young Richard Parker, and he's doing so using the Venom AI suit. With this being an almost identical copy of Peter Parker, he's here to protect the family. And with Peter gone, it appears that his son is starting to take up the mantle. At this point, Peter Parker has been gone for 2 months, but the suit really gives him some reassurance, letting him know that if I know your dad at all, he's a fighter, that he'll get up from whatever he's knocked down from. In a way, he can almost sense him, though he can't track him. He did tell him a few months ago that if he wanted to, he could inject a trace amount of himself into their bloodstream, and he would be able to find them that way. But Peter was against it at the time. This is what takes us to the kingdom of the Mole Man. Below Staten Island, we have a prehistoric world. He is met here by Kraven the Hunter. The two of them are kind of working together in on this. Though Mole Man isn't very happy about it, he wants to take these two immediately to Kingpin. Kraven, on the other hand, wants to make them pay. He wants to have his greatest hunt. He is the true predator. Down here in this kingdom is the perfect place to have his hunt. While the two of them discuss this, we have the arrival of Mysterio. Obviously, things are going to get heated because Kraven believed no one else knew. Him and Mole Man were supposed to be the only ones in on this. Of course, Mole Man denies involving Mysterio. Mysterio just saying he knows things. But Mysterio wants to see them. He wants to see them with his own eyes. This is what takes us back up to the surface, and we have a whole buffet set up on a table. Kind of a last meal situation. Bomb collars around their necks so they can't go anywhere. Kraven lets them know that you're gonna fight me. I'm gonna hunt you, and you're gonna fight back with all the ferociousness you could possibly muster. At first, they thought about maybe making Harry and Peter fight against each other, but as he tortured them, as he learned more about them, he learned that only one of them truly has abilities. The other one is just a dude in a suit. So they knew that that wouldn't be fair. In his eyes, he didn't want to play that game. So he's gonna play a game of Harry and Peter teaming up, and they're gonna play the greatest game. And they have no option in doing this, because if they don't, he's going to kill them, then he's gonna go kill their families. The only way their families stay safe is if they kill Kraven the Hunter. And this whole time, Peter has said nothing. He has said not a word about this, but Peter knows what he has to do. Kraven, looking into his eyes, he sees Peter. He sees what he is. Pressing a button and dropping them down into the wilderness. As their parachutes deploy, they land, and they prepare to fight. The bomb collars unleashing from their neck. Kraven wants to make sure that this stays as fair as possible. He wants to truly be challenged. And so the two of them take this opportunity, and they run. When they were falling, Peter was able to see what appeared to be, at least what they are landing in, is the middle of the jungle. So they need to run in one direction, reach the edge, and find a way to get back to the surface. But Harry wants to stay and fight. He wants to kill Kraven. He wants to end this here. But while they have this discussion, a velociraptor comes up from behind Harry, and Peter is able to stop it just in the nick of time. We see Peter beat the living crap out of a velociraptor with his bare hands. Unfortunately, there was more than one of them. As two velociraptors come out of the woods, Peter tells Harry not to move. As we jump back over to New York, we have our young Richard, who is practicing swinging from the rooftops. But he is brought down by Black Cat, saying that you knew my father, the Black Cat. She's the new one, and she is here for some vengeance. Hopping us into issue number 14, we're picking up exactly where the last issue had left off. We have Black Cat attacking young Richard, and while he's being able to dodge all of her attacks, he's trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Like, I'm trying to tell you got the wrong person. He goes as far as showing his face and saying, like, I'm gonna show you, like, I'm not who you think I am. I'm not Spider-Man. She quickly recognizes this isn't the person she's looking for. The two of them starting up a dialogue, having to start a real conversation up. We learned that Felicia is only 16 years old, Richard only being a year younger than her. We see what may be the beginning of a friendship, but taking us back down to the Savage Land. They are 5 miles from the edge. Peter thinking to himself that Kraven knows about MJ and the kids. This is the only thing he can think about. As they get closer and closer to the edge, as Peter Parker is riding a freaking velociraptor, the only thing that is on his mind is that Kraven knows about MJ and the kids. As they get closer and closer to the edge, the velociraptor that they're riding on gets shot in the head. Kraven the Hunter is taking it down, Peter lifting up the raptor and using it as a body shield. Kraven takes another shot and the two of them are able to make their escape into hiding. And as they take off into the woods, this is where Mole Man intervenes. His little goblins coming up from the earth and bringing them down underground. Mole Man isn't very happy about the disturbance that is happening in his land right now. He tells them though, why I'm helping you is none of your business. While the two know they can't really trust this dude, they have no real option right now considering there's a sniper trying to take them down. With Peter and Harry being able to make it to the tunnel entrance, they take their bomb collars and they set up a booby trap. They're hoping that they can at least slow down Kraven, giving them the opportunity to get away. Now, Harry really wants to stay and fight this guy. Put an end to the problem right here and right now, cut it off at the source. Peter, on the other hand, wants to get back to their families, that they're out there unprotected, no idea what might be coming for them. This is where Harry kinda divulges some information. Gwen is probably not in danger. They have a very heightened, elevated version of kidnap insurance, what they call danger liability. If something happens to either one of them, not only does someone try to resolve it, but the other person gets an extreme level of security, that this is invisible to the person being protected, but effective. Otto created this protocol. He would have activated it for them by now. He would have done the same thing for Peter, but he doesn't know who Peter is. And Harry didn't tell him because Peter didn't trust him. So Gwen Stacy is out there safe. MJ and the kids, on the other hand, are all alone. As they make their move through the jungle, Kraven the Hunter is caught up with them. Wielding a minigun, he unloads on the forest all around them, spraying in all directions. But amidst all the chaos, they're able to set off the trap. A giant explosion sends Kraven the Hunter flying, no longer having access to a gun. He pulls out his knife and he goes toe-to-toe with Peter Parker. Only Peter is filled with rage. He's filled with anger, a desire to get back to his kids and his wife. There is nothing that is going to stop him. That includes Kraven. He tells Kraven that there's only one way this ends. You hurt us, you bleed us, you learn everything you can about us, but you didn't really comprehend what you were hunting. Did you really think that you could kill someone like me with a gun? More than anything, Peter understands now. He knows what the line is, because Kraven crossed it, as he sits atop Kraven and beats the living hell out of him. Harry tells him to do it, to finish it, but Peter restrains himself. He stops himself, he holds himself back. Harry tells him that you can't stop, that he's a killer. This is what he does and he's not gonna stop until he wins. It's gonna be either him or us. While Peter is arguing with him, Kraven was able to reach for his pistol. He lifts up his revolver and he fires, going right through the stomach of Peter. He's confused. He didn't feel any danger, and that's because Kraven wasn't aiming at Peter. Peter just got in the way. Looking over at Harry, Harry's got a bullet in his brain, lying dead on the ground. Peter lifts up his fists and he pounds away on Kraven. This is when Mysterio shows up. Now, Mysterio says that normally we would be enemies, as our allegiances demand this, but in this moment that's not the case, because he's more interested in him than he is Peter Parker. He's more interested in Kraven. If Kraven dies, that means Mysterio's full attention would be on Peter Parker. So we have to ask, is this really what you want? He tells Peter that this is your opportunity. Run now. Run home, take off, get out of here. You couldn't save your friend, maybe you can save your family. With Peter being able to escape, he gets home, blood all over him. He gets to MJ and he tells her what happened, that it all went sideways. They all know who they really are. They know their names, they know where they live, they know everything. He tells Mary Jane that it's time to run. This is what takes us to issue number 15, getting us currently all caught up on Ultimate Spider-Man. We pick up with Peter, the kids, and MJ all in an RV, currently in the desert in an RV park. They're adjusting to life on the run, dealing with their new neighbors, dealing with the new people, but all this new open space gives Richard kind of an opportunity opportunity to let his wings spread, an opportunity to train. Though secretly, he hasn't been telling anybody. He's been texting Felicia. Felicia being Black Cat, this could be very dangerous. But right now, more than anything, him and his father are going to train. That if he's going to be doing this, there's got to be some rules. More than anything, he's telling the suit that you need to protect Richard at all costs. Even if it means my life ending, you protect Richard. As they swing around, we pick up a little bit later at an old abandoned military base. As they go in to take a closer look, we have Ultimate Sandman that enters the picture, scooping up Spider-Man and throwing him around. But every time that Sandman forms, the tower nearby activates, it arms, and it causes him to disintegrate. Now they're trying to figure out what the heck is happening, but Sandman keeps reforming, grabbing Spider-Man and smashing him into the tower. Every time the tower activates, sending Sandman back into the dirt. Richard going over to Peter and lifting him up, trying to figure out what the heck they're about to do about this situation. They don't know what's going on except that the tower keeps blasting him apart. It's almost as if it's some kind of containment. So Richard gets the idea, maybe we can turn it off. Using the suit attaches itself to the tower and shuts the thing completely down. In doing so, we see Sandman able to stay informed. The first words that Sandman has ever been able to speak in 3 years. He goes on to explain his story. Just a normal guy who got too curious. They caught him cutting through the fence of this military base. He knew that someone was doing illegal experiments, but he never thought he would become one of them. And when they did it, he became one who could go into the earth. They saw what he had become. The tower was meant to keep him from reforming and regaining his human form. And then they left, trapped and hopeless. But thanks to Spider-Man and Richard, he is finally free. Later on that night, we pick up with Peter and Mary Jane. We have Peter who is doing his weekly check-in with Ben, finding out what's going on. They have to use code because they don't trust anything, but he's finding out that everything's fine. More than that, there's something going on here. Ben reassuring him that everything's on the up and up, that they're gonna check in next week. Right now, Ben and Jonah, they're dealing with a bigger problem. The attorney and Kingpin have shown up. They've come to say that they've been reporting lies, untruths as they call them. But this is where Kingpin shows them. Tomorrow, the Daily Bugle is going to be running a story about the reckless owner-operators of the paper. Mr. Weasley is here on their behalf to see if they wanted to make a comment. What they're looking at is various well-sourced police and forensic reports confirming the deaths and murders of not so insignificant number of people, all who share the same name, Ben Reilly. Jonah asking the question, you killed every Ben Reilly in New York. Kingpin saying no, he belongs to a global operation. They killed every Ben Reilly on the planet. But you think you can write a story, you think you're changing the world, telling the truth, you think it matters, but it doesn't. Kingpin just wanted them to know that he admires their work. Strong words, they elicit a strong response. But he wants them to keep going. He gives them something to point to, something to pick apart, to reframe, to ridicule, to further his plans. That they'll be a very useful distraction to keep doing what they're doing, but stop hiding behind others. Others that are gonna get hurt because of what you do. Mr. Weasley saying, is there anything you would like to say for the record? Ben saying, when all this is done, when all wrongs have been righted and the shadows have lifted, Ben is going to be the guy that's gonna write the obituary. Alright guys, so our story starts us off with Gwen sitting before Harry's headstone. This is because Harry Osborn is dead, killed by the hands of Craven, and with Gwen sitting here remembering her lost love. This takes us back to one of the early days on, before Harry actually met any parents, before this thing got as serious as they are now, being married, so on and so forth. And while they have this conversation, she gets a phone call, one that lets her know they found her father. This is what takes us to Gwen. After years of trying, they finally recovered her father's body. They have his remains. They didn't want to give it up. They didn't want them complete. But her father's wish has finally come to pass. Gwen is to take his place and join them. This is where we learn the truth. Gwen Stacy is in fact Mysterio, one of 5. Their power ageless. The amulet passed from sire to spawn, 1 to wear, 5 to share. Collectively, they are Mysterio. Now for Gwen, time would move forward. She would end up getting married to Harry. They would spend their first Christmas together. But Gwen always had this infatuation with living in the wrong timeline. So much so, there is a book written out there. A book that has been banned pretty much across the globe. And this isn't your regular flat earth, chemtrails, things of that nature kind of conspiracy. This is saying that we are living in the wrong timeline. Everything going on with tachyon particles and temporal echoes. That is the real reason you can't find this book anywhere. And Gwen has been infatuated with this for a very long time, sitting at her Council of Mysterios. She tells all the others that everything they work towards, everything that they believed was real, the world is an illusion, fabricated by one man. Now that they have all the information that they have, they know who the Maker is. They know that the Maker is trapped for the next 2 years. She is divulging the real history of the world to the others. Now, they want to release this information to the entire world and wipe the fog from the eyes of the world. Gwen knows they need some kind of delivery system, a way that doesn't trace back to them because they know this is what got her father killed. Now, time will continue on and it will put us a few months ago. It puts us just around the time that Kraven kidnapped both Harry and Peter. One of the other Mysterios coming to her and letting her know, "We found your husband. Kraven has taken them, but the time isn't over yet. There is still time to save them before he kills them." This is what takes us to that night. Peter standing above Kraven, Harry telling him that you have to kill him, that you have to end this and you must do it now. And we saw how this unfolded. Kraven pulled out his pistol, he lifted it up, and he shot Harry. Or at least that's what we think that we saw. With Mysterio being involved, what you see is never truly what you see. He created the illusion. He made it seem like Harry had been murdered. With Peter running home, Kraven is now wondering what game Mysterio is playing at. This is where Mysterio lifts up a pistol, and Mysterio puts down Kraven, the mask revealing that this is Gwen, and that's when Harry absolutely loses his shit, has no idea what's going on, trying to figure out what's happening. This is what takes us to present day. Harry Osborn is dead. Harry and Gwen stand at his headstone. With Harry being dead, the Green Goblin is not. That means Harry can't be pinned as the Green Goblin any longer. But he also tells her that I can't believe you held this from me for so long. That if we're gonna do this, if we're gonna keep going, we can't be this secretive. But knowing that the two of them, they'll figure it out together. What is next for them is Harry's war. Now they take the fight to them. Now they win. Alright guys, so as we start this issue off, we pick up with Ben and Harry. Harry showing up to the door to talk to Ben. Ben obviously finding it surprising that he's here considering he's supposed to be dead. Immediately telling him like Peter's pretty beat up after what happened to you. He doesn't talk about it, but he's pretty upset, and saying upset is putting it nicely. That maybe you should reach out to him. Set things straight for him. Harry really just wanted to know if Peter and his family are safe. He wanted to check in, make sure that he was okay, to tell them all that they need to keep their head down because things are about to get serious. And while they may have already been that way, compared to what's coming, things haven't even begun. Taking us to Gwen Stacy, we have the arrival of Kingpin, showing up with Mr. Wesley by his side. He says that he won't be staying long. Kingpin is doing the courtesy of not pretending that her husband was one of the ones who actually ran the father's company. Everyone knows that it's always been Gwen. He's assuming that she is privy to all the arrangements her husband had made prior to him dying. He's assuming that all of that is going to continue regardless of her husband passing, with Kingpin taking off to the office and leaving Mr. Wesley behind. Mr. Wesley and her have a conversation, Mr. Wesley being one of the Mysterios. and he mentions how demanding it can be to work for Wilson Fisk, that there's quite a bit of dancing someone in his position has to do. For example, he helps Stacy find her husband, save him, and in return, all he got was a growing number of questions from Fisk, all regarding the disappearance of Craven. Based off of this conversation, what we can tell that's going on is that the other council of Mysterios, they're not entirely thrilled with what Gwen has been up to. They all believe that they are working for a collective good, their collective good. If one of them is not operating in that regard, it could be very dangerous for all the others. They could seek to replace her. Now that they have all left, that's when Harry comes out of hiding, having the amulet that gives them 1 week. She has 1 week as Mysterio until she has to pass it off to the next. With that 1 week, it means it is time to go to war. And so with Harry headed out, he goes to meet up with Otto. The goblin armor is back up to 100%. The suit's AI hasn't been active in months, but Harry says that it's time. Now, if you guys remember, the AI is essentially the voice of his father, and not in any kind of nice or kind way. It's his father constantly just talking smack to him, constantly talking down to him, with Otto giving him all the information on the updates that he's done. Otto heads out, and Harry puts on the helmet. As it boots up, that's when his father comes out, recognizing how much time has passed, mapping the changes in his brain patterns, downloading the memories, seeing that he was captured, beaten, broken. He tells the dad AI that, yeah, I kind of had a bad run, and his father's AI essentially tells him, like, there's bad runs, and then there's what's happened to you. Then add in the fact that you didn't even know your wife was a Mysterio. At this point, do you even know who you are? Do you even know what you are? His father telling him that I'm tired of being ashamed of you, weary of the shame that haunts him even after his death, that it's time that Harry proves himself once and for all. This is where we see Harry and Mysterio, Green Goblin and Gwen Stacy. They break into a factory. They knock down the door, but none of these guards are shooting at them. In fact, none of these guards are even holding guns. This is a weapons factory. This is a demon bomb factory. Mysterio jumping into action to deal with all the guards, while Green Goblin rounds up all the civilians and gets them to safety. Now, it doesn't take long for all of this to go down. All while Harry's father's the AI in his head tell him, like, this is a manner of choice that you're going about. Like, you're just saving people while your wife does all the work. When he meets up with Mysterio, he tells her that he got all of the civilians out. Mysterio took care of all the demons, but she didn't defuse all the bombs. In fact, she never said she was going to defuse bombs. This is when we see the explosion. Harry thought that they were simply going to disable these bombs. Gwen Stacy, on the other hand, she had a different approach. She took care of it, and she did it her way. The way she sees it, they're at war with a generational enemy. Harry knows this. They must do whatever is required. Say, I don't know why you're so surprised by this. You were saying the exact same thing a few months ago. We do what has to be done. Now, Harry agrees it. He agrees and he says sure. But then we hop over to Utah. And Peter Parker is getting a phone call, with Ben giving him a call. He says that there is somebody that wants to say hello. And when Peter hears the voice, he can't believe it. Harry is alive. And Harry tells him, yeah, it's me. It's a real long story. But right now, Peter, I need you to come home. I need the help of Spider-Man. Hi, gang, we're picking up in Utah. We pick up with Harry coming in on his private jet and meeting up with the Parker family. Peter's still a little bit ticked off. Not really sure how he feels about being lied to about all of this stuff going on, but Harry does say that he has an end to this situation. But Harry also brought Uncle Ben along. He brought Jonah along. They're gonna stay here in Utah and kind of look after the kids. If they're to declare war in New York City with Kingpin, his family's gotta be safe. That's exactly what this is. This is his way of keeping them safe, of keeping them away from everything going on. This is what hops us over to our Council of Mysterios. Mysterio. And right now, Gwen is kind of being put on trial. She is being accused of acting in her own self-interest and not in the interest of the Five. But Gwen would argue that she's doing exactly what they're meant to be doing. They're angry because they make decisions together. But the way Gwen sees it, all they do is talk. They talk, and they do some more talking. Stacy's past that point. Some would try to argue that she's only doing all of this in her own self-interest, and that she did this because she wanted to save her husband. The truth is, while she acted sooner than they had planned, the plan was always for him to die, was always to kill Kraven. And while some might think that there's room to clean up, there is no cleaning up. The path has been laid. She killed Kraven. She publicly attacked Mr. Negative. We are at war. The only thing they really have to worry about is Mole Man, more than anybody else in Kingpin's circle. Now they have to wonder, has he spoken to anybody? Right now, at least, they have mutually assured destruction. Kraven's body left where it was. It kind of implicates Mole Man into all of it. But the die is cast. All is it is meant to be. And then the last member chimes in, and she says that she agrees with Gwen. That of course I agree with her. Are we not here for a reason? Are we not committed? Are we not truly believing the words we say? The world is a lie, and only through embracing these lies, becoming a master of them, can we truly see. Their craft is old, older than the lie. Their power is ageless. The amulet passed from sire to spawn, 1 to wear it, 5 to share it. They are Mysterio, and the Mysterios are going to war. This is what picks us up with Spider-Man and Green Goblin. Right now, they're swinging their way through the city, but being back in New York City, Peter's feeling a little bit rusty. He wants to shake off the rust, so he goes out there and they start beating up some local bad guys. Some street-level thugs they start taking on one at a time. And after some much-needed punch therapy, Spider-Man's feeling a lot better. Now it's just a matter of waiting up until they can meet up with Gwen. At this point, he's started to learn what's going on, about the Mysterio, about all of this, but he hasn't talked to her since he's learned all of this. Since they have a little bit of time, he figures stop by the old apartment. Stop by and see how it is. But when they arrive, what they find is this place is an absolute disaster. It takes Harry a second to recognize, but then tells Peter like, oh man, you're gonna be mad. You're gonna be real mad at me. Coming out from the closet with a bat is Otto. Dr. Octavius coming out, acting like he's gonna do something, but Spider, he webs him up real quick. Otto, seeing who it is, he's like, oh, you're back, welcome back. And Harry says, calm down, this is totally my fault. I sent Otto here to make sure all the protocols were in place to make sure we could protect your family. But with Peter gone and God knows what happening to Harry, he wanted to make sure everything was looked after. That's where Otto comes into play. Otto just happened to decide to move in. He decided to make this his little bachelor pad for a while. Peter, pretty livid, saying that him and Harry are gonna have a discussion about this. They go swinging off through the city. They go swinging off to meet up with Gwen. And while Peter, at first, he's a little bit upset, he tells Harry, you made the right call. That I shouldn't be so mad. I should actually be thanking you. That it was the right decision. Because if there's one thing he's learned about this job, he can only do his job the way it needs to be done if he knows the people he loves are safe. This is what picks us up hours ago. When Harry and Peter are about to take off, the rest of the family went back to the campsite. Now, everybody believed that Richard just stayed at the campsite. But what really happened is he was texting Felicia. And Felicia, she's been luring him back to New York City, telling him that she got into some trouble, that she's in some real trouble and she needs real help. Without hesitation, Richard jumps into action. We see Richard suit up with Venom. And as his father and Harry go to get on that plane, we see Venom go invisible, straight go in stealth mode. He makes his way onto the jet. He sneaks his way onto the plane. And that's what takes us to present day. Young Richard Parker swinging through the city. Opening up a window, he runs into Felicia. Ecstatic to see her. Happy to see that she's safe. But this is where he learns how badly he messed up. Because as he gets into this room, he is surrounded by bullseyes. and Kingpin standing before him. He tells young Richard that you have no reason to be scared because you are a rather precarious situation, that nothing bad needs to happen tonight. I just need your help because Felicia has let it slip, kind of giving a little bit away about yourself. Certainly enough to know that you are a savory player, that I know you're in league with Spider-Man. And one way or another, tonight, you're gonna give him up. We pick up with Richard asking Black Cat why. And as we saw, she said, it's in my nature. But Kingpin is proposing the question of, what's it gonna be? Are you going to betray your friend? Betray your fellow heroes? Or are we just gonna punch the living crap out of you until you tell us? This is when the suit asks him, what are we gonna do? And at this point, Richard, he doesn't know. He's terrified. The suit tells him, I can take over. If you want me to, I can take over. Richard telling him yes. The suit tells him to close your eyes. Don't you open them until I tell you. And this is where we get the full first true introduction to Ultimate Venom. In the blink of an eye, Venom begins to tear apart everybody. This is an absolute bloodbath. There's nobody walking away. There's nobody surviving from this except for Kingpin. Barely able to make it out of the door, the dude starts running. Kingpin is now seeing he is definitely out of his league. It completely consumes Black Cat's father. Had she not been there, this probably would have been his end. But we hop over to Fisk Tower. Fisk has called a meeting. His Sinister Six, or what remains of the Sinister Six, have all shown up. And it's been months. Kraven is still missing. Now Fisk is asking, where the hell is he? But at this point, nobody really knows. In the worst case scenario, they think he might be working with Mysterio. This is where we see things get kinda heated up. A challenge to Kingpin. But instead of actually fighting, Kingpin, he kind of de-escalates the situation. And he says, look at what they're doing to us. And Kingpin will admit that he has become obsessed with mystery instead of adversary. That we'll deal with Kraven when the time comes. But until then, we have true enemies to crush. When they mention the monster, Kingpin mentions how he set up a trap. He's now suspecting that it was much more. He was hoping that he was gonna catch Spider-Man. Instead, he caught some kind of nightmare. But by all accounts, Felicia says that she doesn't know who Spider-Man is. That she doesn't know his real name. Nor did she know that young Richard would transform into that giant monster. She's also saying that she doesn't know his name. At least for the time being, Kingpin's gonna believe her. But sooner or later, he's gonna find out if she actually has the answers. This whole time, we have Goblin and Mysterio. They're listening in. They hear the entire conversation. They're just gathering intel. They're preparing for when Kingpin's gonna attack them. Later on that day, we pick up at Peter Parker's apartment. We have Mole Man, who has snuck in. But as he sneaks in, Peter Parker is here waiting. Peter stops in every day, just thinking maybe someone will show up. Maybe someone will come here that's trying to threaten him or his family. And Spider-Man really has this illusion that once this is all said and done, he's gonna be able to go on living a normal life. And Mole Man, he reminds him like, it's amusing that you think that. Like, you're never gonna be able to live in this apartment again. Mole Man is here to warn him that they're coming for you. They don't know who you are yet, and because I'm complacent, I've kept your secret. But believe me when I tell you, it's only a matter of time before they do figure out who you are. So I came here to warn you. Now, Peter doesn't fully understand this. Doesn't understand why he's helping him. Also doesn't understand how on earth he came through the wall when they're not even on the bottom floor. Now, Mole Man says that's just how my powers work. But to answer the more important question, I don't really care for those I've been associating with over the years. They've kind of been a means to an end. I've been looking for my way out for a long time. And now I think I've found someone and something powerful enough that might be able to end them for good. Spider-Man tells him, like, I think you might have the wrong guy. You need to understand that there's lines I just won't cross. But Mole Man says, like, what about your friend? Because I saw the way that those guys tortured you. That kind of stuff changes a person. Spider-Man telling him, I think it's time you should leave. But Mole Man tells him, like, my offer stands. It's on the table if you ever so choose to need my help. Later on that evening, we have young Richard who has snuck into the house, or so we thought. But Mom and Dad are right here waiting for him. Now, Mary Jane, she lays into him. She doesn't pull any punches, she's screaming, she's yelling, and And, Peter's like, maybe we all need to take a moment, let everybody calm down. Peter telling the suit that Richard is not to leave. This is where Peter and Mary Jane, they go into the other room, and Mary Jane kinda breaks. She's gotta ask, what are we doing? Like, I feel like I've taken all of this pretty well. I've been a pretty good mom, I've been a pretty good wife. And when you first started all this, I forgave you from keeping it all from me. I knew you were going through something. That maybe if I was patient when you were ready, you would tell me. But when you and Harry were kidnapped, I took care of the kids. I did my best to remain calm. And when you said it was time to run, I ran as hard as I could. But now this stuff with Richard, she thought maybe it would be kind of therapeutic for the two of them. That Richard and Peter would grow closer because of it. But now she's seeing that the suit, it's dangerous. Now Peter interrupts and he says, I get that, but he's also much safer in that suit. Like, I don't like this situation, but I'm also not terrified when he puts it on. For the first time, at this point, I want him sleeping in it. And we can ask, what about Mary Jane? What about May? What about Ben? But Peter asks, what about everybody? We're all trapped in this city with maniacs in charge. This is why they have to be stopped. This is why this all has to come to an end. We have been planning, we have been preparing, and while I don't necessarily trust Gwen, I trust Harry, and Harry trusts Gwen. But Mary is at the point that she's ready to break, and so Peter tells her, tell me what to do, ask anything, and I'll do it. But Mary Jane, she doesn't want to ask anymore. Peter has answered every single question that she has had. She doesn't want to have to do that anymore. I want you to tell me everything I need to know about you, about Harry, about Gwen, everything that you're up to. No more lies by omission, no more secrets. I want to know everything. But to understand how it got to that point, we have to remember the conversation that we had between Mary Jane, Gwen Stacy, Harry Osborn, and Peter Parker. They had all sat down and they had a dinner. Everything went relatively well, at first at least. But Mary Jane, she eventually excuses herself from the table. Her and Gwen Stacy go into the bathroom and they have a conversation. Really, what this comes down to is Mary Jane is learning how loose of a cannon Gwen Stacy is. She doesn't have anything to lose. She has no family outside of Harry. She has nothing, so she's not scared. She's ready to just go straight IRA on him. And Mary Jane knows how dangerous this is. Being such a loose cannon, willing to sacrifice anything and anybody, Mary Jane straight punches her in the face. And so when Mary Jane comes out of the bathroom, she tells Peter, you're a good man. Harry, you could be a good one too, but your wife, she's gonna get all of you killed. And that's what takes us over to issue number 21. This is the death of Mysterio. But really, this is a story of negative. It starts with the kidnapping of James Wesley, one of the Mysterios. But Mr. Negative, he doesn't know this yet. You see, to the outside world, James Wesley is just more or less the assistant to Kingpin. Negative has kidnapped him in hopes of getting any information that he can get out of him. He wants all of Kingpin's secrets. Today is going to be the day that he betrays him. And this is where we get the Ultimate Universe's Mr. Negative backstory. It all started with him and his sister. The two of them together, every dollar that they got, they scraped for, they fought for, they stole for. But the question that always lingered in their minds is, can we keep it? Can we hold on to it? Because there was always someone trying to take, someone trying to control. And one day when one of those thugs hit him in the face, his powers activated. He returned to his sister, and she was pleased. She was pleased at what he could do. This gave them a small measure of control. This gave them opportunity. After a while, killing people, being a strong arm, it became very easy, almost effortless. That upward climb for the criminal ranks, it was nothing for them. It was easy work for them. The higher and higher that they climbed, they gathered power, an alliance of demons. It took some years, but they really rolled over every bit of competition that they might have. Anybody that might stand against them. Every single one of them fell, but one. This is the day that Negative stood against Kingpin. It was inevitable that the two of them meet. This was a destined fight. Kingpin, a representation of the ruthless, unavoidable state of the world. And Negative thought he could break him, that his will was greater than Kingpin's. But Kingpin beat him. He beat him down, and then Kingpin offered him a job. This is where we pick back up with Negative interrogating Wesley, trying to get any information he can. And this is when he learns the secret. Forcing the information out of him, he divulges that he is Mysterio, that he is one of them, with Mr. Negative telling Wesley to tell me everything. We go back to the day that Negative went back to his sister. On that day, he was defeated twice. Not only did Kingpin defeat him, but he was shamed by his own sister. At this point, she pretty much disowned him. And so since that day, Negative has plotted. He's plotted to take down everybody. His sister, the Sinister Six, Kingpin himself. He plans to leave none standing. And now he has learned the horrible truth. Wesley is a Mysterio. So when we pick up with the Mysterio secret meeting, Wesley is crying, apologizing. None of them recognize that it's already too late, that Wesley is controlled. He's been taken over. Negative planning attacks all across the city against Black Cat, against Mole Man, against every single person. And we see here Mr. Negative's sister, one of the Mysterios. She looks at Wesley and she knows that look. She's seen it before. Bomb strapped to his chest. Wesley detonates. And with his detonation, it appears that every single one of the Mysterio Council have been taken off the board. This is what hops us over to Ultimate Spider-Man number 22. We pick up in the underground layer of Mole Man. And what we have here is our ultimate superior Spider-Man, hiding deep underneath the earth. Peter and his family have been hiding out here. As Spidey returns, he talks to the family, delivers the groceries, delivers the food, all that good stuff. But when he takes off his mask, we see that this is Otto. Now, Otto has been a very interesting character throughout this, and you can't really tell what side he's on things. He seems like somebody that's after knowledge, that wants more information, that wants to be able to just build, to create. But when it comes to his morals and ethics, they're rather ambiguous. But while we have the whole family, they're gathering and they're eating some food. Peter and Harry, they're out there knocking some heads. The two of them, they've been taking down bullseyes left and right. Truth of the matter is, they've been smashing these guys for over a year now. When our Green Goblin, he drops down some bombs and electrifies these guys, puts them down in an instant. Even Peter's like, damn, that was a tad excessive, but it definitely worked. Definitely did the job. And Harry tells Peter, you know, since we took these guys down, you still can make it back for dinner. Now, Peter really is trying to get Harry to come back with him. I mean, Gwen's gone, and so it's just Harry fighting this fight. Going and spending time with Peter and his family, seeing them all happy together. He says, I just can't do it. I can't be around it. Like, I miss Gwen, but what else am I gonna do? What else can I do? The comms seem to be working fine, so if I yell, just come running. Peter reluctantly agreeing, he swings off. But as he swings off, we see that Harry is still talking to his father, talking to that voice. In all honesty, Harry is pretty messed up right now. As we pick up in the laboratory, we pick up with Otto and Richard. Now, Otto is having a conversation with him, talking about the Great Maker, the master behind everything going on. And what Otto has created is a device, a worm, a very subtle one, self-replicating parasite, and it eats the tiniest portion of all that knowledge, everything that the Maker has gathered together. So if you put this device in the right place, it could erase all the information about the Parker family. Really, he's just trying to convince Richard to go and put this somewhere. A place that is really only accessible at Kingpin's place. And this is going to be a very hard task. It's not going to be something that's going to be easy to do. So we probably need somebody that's a really good thief, someone that can get in and out of places with great ease. Maybe you know somebody like that. This is where we pick up with young Richard headed to Black Cat. As they overlook Fisk Tower, Richard's here to offer up a little bit of trouble. She does say, you know, I followed Mr. Negative here, just so you know he is inside. But Richard says, I'm still going in, but I would like your help, so if you want to get in some trouble with me, you're free to join. Now, she is definitely down to join into this fight. Meanwhile, elsewhere, we have Harry. He's got at least a dozen bad guys in his sight. And as he looks, we see that he's got an ally by his side, one that is telling him it's time to go in. This is where we get the first glimpse of the nightmarish true form Mysterio. All the 5 voices asking, are you with us? Gwen Stacy in there saying, are you with me, Harry? But before we can get to that step, Peter Parker has to take on New York City. He has to take on Kingpin. Now, our story starts us off with MJ and Peter. They're talking to Otto, and Otto's really like, yeah, your son, he left. He left with that device. He's headed to Fisk's building, and he's having that Hardy girl help him out. Now, Otto is trying his plan out, and really, he manipulated Richard into going out and doing all this. So this leaves Peter Parker with no other option but to finally go and face Fisk. Over at Fisk Tower, this is where we have Richard and we have Hardy trying to break into the building. And though for them this isn't really trying, Felicia can get in anywhere. As they make their way in, they definitely have their hands full on what is to come. And back at the shop, this is where they're preparing. They're about to do the broadcast. It's going to go out to the world. The full exposure of who Fisk is. This is going to go out to every single device. It's going to go out to all phones, computers, anything with a screen and an internet connection. It's going to play this video. So when we see Spider-Man swinging through New York City, every screen on every single building has Fisk's face. And it is telling the people that this is Wilson Fisk. Over the past year, it has been revealed that he is also known as the Kingpin of New York. It is a name that he has earned. He has been installed as a strong right hand of those who truly rule the world. He was not chosen by you. He was not elected into office. He simply rules. And while this speech goes on, this is where we see Mr. Negative come into the room with Fisk. Because Negative has been waiting all of this time, waiting for this opportunity. This is the day that Negative wants to take down Kingpin and take his place. As they get ready to fight, Fisk is curious on how you got through all of my bullseyes without me even seeing it. I wasn't even alerted that they were gone. And while Negative would love to take credit for this, it has nothing to do with him. All of Fisk's men, they appear to be elsewhere. That elsewhere is taking on Mysterio and Green Goblin. But where they are, there's a voice that they hear and it tells them all the bullseyes to stop, to let them through. And at this point, they have no idea what the heck is going on. But as they just kind of go with it and they go to see who the voice behind all this is, we pick up with Negative and Fisk going toe-to-toe. But while these two brawl, an alarm goes off. Both of them looking up to the monitor, and what we see, Richard and Hardy. You see, Kid Parker, he accidentally hit one of the lasers. With the alarm going haywire, both Fisk and Negative, they put their fight on pause. And even Fisk stops. He looks at Negative and he says, "Do what you will with the city, but know that your dominion exists at the pleasure of the Maker. If there is one rule that they live by, be a solid foundation on which his empire stands." Like, this isn't a distraction. This is more than that. Fisk may be a powerful man, but he knows the powers that are above him, and he is not trying to fuck with them. Unfortunately for them, this is when Spider-Man comes crashing in through the window. And with Spidey coming in, he's like, usually I have something witty to say here, but the truth is, let's just get to punching. Looking over, he sees the monitor, and he sees Richard, and he's like, oh crap. At this point, Negative knows everything. It even throws Fisk off when Negative's like, Parker, your timing is impeccable. And he tells Fisk, like, I know his name because of James Wesley. He told me everything, even about his secret life as Mysterio. Now, Fisk and Spider-Man, they're like, what the hell is even going on here? But Negative's like, yeah, so I know all of your secrets, Kingpin. I know all of your secrets, Peter Parker. Just like I know that your uncle, he's probably the one outing Kingpin right now as we speak. And I also know that your son is Richard, the one that is down there in that vault right now. Now, Fist takes all this information in and he's like, all right, until I fall, this city is mine. So let's have a truce until we've dealt with this, and then we'll go back to killing each other. So as Negative goes to deal with Richard, this is where Spider-Man stops him, webbing him up and bringing him to him like freaking Scorpion. He hits him with all that momentum built up. But when he goes to throw another punch, the giant colossal hand of Kingpin grabs hold of Spider-Man, lifts him up into the air, and throws him against the wall. This fight getting underway, and Peter Parker hugely outnumbered in this fight. Down in the vault, Richard and Felicia, they're trying with everything they can to avoid all the security, the robotic arms that are trying to kill them. As he's battling it though, this is where his suit, it tells him that there's a small problem here. The defenses here are made up of the same thing that Richard's suit is made of. Extremely complex and highly adaptable. Their situation just went from 0 to 100 in a split second. Both of them quickly getting wrapped up. We're taken back to Fisk and Spider-Man. And Kingpin's telling him like, didn't you learn your lesson the last time you were here? Peter saying, you know, you caught me on a bad day. You caught me in my beginning. Now I know what I'm doing. With Spider-Man springing from one wall to the ceiling to the other, all along the way taking every opportunity that he can to get those hits in on Kingpin. But as he's fighting, he stops. And that is because of Mr. Negative. Using his powers, he tells Spider-Man, don't fight. Unable to move or fight back against Fisk, Kingpin just smashes Spider-Man. He throws him all over the place. He beats the crap out of him. And while he takes this beating defenseless, we pick up with Mysterio, Green Goblin, and Captain Britain. This was all set up by Mysterio. When Mysterio reached out to Captain Britain, it piqued their interest. But now that we're at this spot, after surveying the territory, having to say like, he's definitely more interested on how Mysterio might run things. Now at this point, Harry's pretty much been left out of everything going on, with Mysterio being 5 different individuals all smashed into one. He's been going along this path and following his wife, because she's still technically in there. But it appears that he's not part of everything going on. He's being left out of a lot of stuff. In this moment, Peter reaches out, calling to Harry and saying that I need your help. And that voice in his head tells Harry that it's fascinating how you're ignored so often and then you're pulled all at once. But now what's it gonna be? Will you stand by 1/5 of your wife or run off to save a better man than you'll ever be? Where does your loyalty lie? Do you have any agency in this at all? That's when Harry tells Peter that he's not coming. Without any assistance or backup, we see Spider-Man getting beat down, Negative preventing him from being able to lift a fist. It only takes a matter of moments before Spider-Man is beat down into the ground, concrete broken underneath his body. And Negative saying such a grand plans, such broad ambition to topple kings and send hope for the hopeless. For such a hero, Negative expected more. But as Negative heads off to take care of Richard, this is when they both hear a voice. It tells them no, that this fight, this isn't over, because Peter Parker is just getting started. Up in our story, what we see, we got Kid Parker in his quote-unquote Venom suit. They're battling to try and shut down all these systems. Green Goblin and Mysterio, they're currently cutting a deal with the Maker's people. And then Peter Parker, he's going head-to-head with Kingpin. Now, Mr. Negative, he tries to control Peter, with Kingpin having no interest in a fair fight. There is no mercy, no pull punches. Mr. Negative tells Peter, don't fight. Do not fight. And Peter says, yeah, I heard ya. And then he webs him right in the face, wraps him up, grabs his body, pulls him pulls him right into the fist of Kingpin, knocks him clean out. And Peter says, I'm not fighting you. I'm just moving you from one place to another. Kingpin's the one that hits you in the face. With Peter back in full control, Mr. Negative knocked unconscious. It is just Spider-Man versus Kingpin. Far beneath them, down in the vault, we got Kid Parker and we got Felicia. This white technological advancement that's a lot like our own Venom here. They're unable to break free of it. The suit even telling him that this stuff is very complex, highly adaptable, but he is more complex, more adaptable. So it allows them to break through it. As Felicia's able to get through, we see Richard doing everything he can to hold it off, to hold it at bay. The problem is, the defense matrix, it's digging into his brain, changing it, evolving it. It's becoming more like them. This is where we essentially see the anti-Venom version in the Ultimate Universe. As we're thrown to the past a little bit, we're shown Otto giving Peter something that's going to help him in his fight. They believe that the biotech Kingpin has running through his body, it's got to be the same upgraded version of the enhancements that Bullseye has. This shot should be able to deactivate it. Pretty much it puts him on an even playing field. So in present day, we see Peter using this, trying to attack him, trying to insert it into Kingpin, but he fails. And Kingpin, he tells Peter that this is my favorite part. Most men in my position would be annoyed at their lessers refusing to surrender, but he loves this. The final death of hope, the crushing dreams, the surrender of the weight of the living world, how it's so unfair. Even the very end of your entire bloodline, all at the hands of Kingpin. Down in the vault, we see Richard battling this new version of technology, the one that has adapted and essentially become what he is. But we see this Venom just bite the head off of it. Even that doesn't stop it, it multiplies. This goo is them. Now he's suspecting that the entirety of the vault is nanotech. So we either gotta make a run for it, or we gotta get to that device and we gotta do it now. Richard wants to stay and fight. Getting the vault open is just a matter of time. It's a matter of getting to the device. Peter is watching all of this on the monitor while he's fighting Kingpin, terrified for his son because they're going for it. And Kingpin says, I'm gonna make you a promise. One I swear that I'll keep. When I bury you in your son's body, I will do so in unmarked graves on the opposite ends of the earth, apart forever, just like you died. But Peter, he's able to grab that device that Otto gave him, moving with a quickness. He crawls all over his body and then hits Kingpin in the back, injects it right into him, and those enhancements, they're right out the window. This is where we see the two events unfolding side by side. Peter beating the living crap out of Kingpin, but the nanotech in the vault is completely taking over everything. Felicia, Richard, the both of them are being overwhelmed. Having no other option, Richard separates from the nanotech. And while Spider-Man, he's pretty much beat down Kingpin. Kingpin is smiling, telling him to look at the monitor, that you're too late. You can't save him. You finally beat me. You took me down. But in defeating me, it's gonna cost you everything. As Spider-Man runs, he moves as fast as he can, the white nanotech grabbing hold of Richard, taking him and Felicia over. We see Richard reach out, and he's able to hit the button. The nanotech, it wipes away. And when Spider-Man shows up, he finds Felicia and Richard are kissing. Not even sure if he should be mad about this situation or proud, but one thing is for certain, Richard is definitely grounded. So as Spider-Man, Richard, Felicia, they get out of here. Kingpin, Mr. Negative, they get back up to their feet after defeat. But Uncle Ben and the others, Jonah, they all release the information about Kingpin. Everything's out. His entire empire is over. Captain Britain and Mysterio shaking hands and cutting a deal. We pick up a little bit later on. Kingpin and Mr. Negative, they sit atop his tower. At the very top, they sit here and they look down on all the people. Kingpin says that we lost everything, receiving a message saying that Mysterio has decided that this city now belongs to Mysterio. Mr. Negative and Kingpin have been cast aside, but Kingpin, he's not furious about this. He's gonna have his revenge. It's been a long time since he felt this way, and what he feels is hunger. I may have lost everything. I may have had everything taken from me. But you have any idea how many people I've stepped on, stepped over, as I climbed the mountain? I won, and then there were no more lands to be conquered. Now I find myself in a land full, needing conquering. Asking what Mr. Negative thinks about it, this is when he activates his powers. And what he thinks is that Kingpin should jump, telling him to stop lying to himself. That you don't have anything to live for. That all of this is over. That I want you to jump. You're gonna jump, so jump. And Kingpin, he fights it. He tells him no, that he doesn't want to. That he doesn't want to die like this. As he leaps from the edge, his willpower grabbing hold of the corner. Grabbing hold of that ledge and barely holding on. Mr. Negative has to admit that you got some fight in you. But I'm stronger. I've been waiting for this day for a long time. I'm casting you aside, and I'm gonna climb the mountain myself. Kingpin grabbing hold of Mr. Negative's leg, he tells him to let go, but Kingpin doesn't. He just smiles. He lets go of the ledge, and he takes Negative down with him. This is the end of Kingpin and Mr. Negative. This is what picks us up with our Green Goblin and our Mysterio. And he's gotta ask the question, what's gonna happen with us? Harry's gotta know what's going next. And Gwen, she says, you and your friends, the Parkers, their various related relations, they're safe. That you're allowed to operate in the city with my blessing. Therefore, you have the blessing of the Maker. His shadow will protect me and therefore will protect you. They're safe as long as they don't cross us. But Harry wasn't talking about this. He was talking about his relationship. This is when Mysterio comes out and says that there is no us. It is the only way that they could save themselves when the explosion happened. They're all in there. A piece of each of them. The woman he loved is still there, but it's just a piece. Part of a consciousness. This is how it has to be. They lost everything. Now they have to make do. This is what picks us up with Harry and Peter. Harry has come to Peter, really letting Peter know about the AI, about his father's AI. The one that has been in his head, and he told Otto it's time to wipe it. He is ready to put the past behind him and do it for good. And Peter, he's got to apologize. Like, I'm sorry, man. Like, I'm sorry about everything. Harry telling him, like, don't do this. don't do this to me. I don't need sympathy. The truth is, I should be apologizing to you. You needed help and I wasn't there for you. Peter going on to explain that a good friend of his once said that with great power comes great responsibility, and he gets it, he really does. But he's just not sure it's an ethos that works in the world that they're living in. He thinks that each of them, everyone, has the great responsibility of fighting for what they believe in, great power or not. There is something that Harry needs to know though. This entire time, everything, he's been through hell and back, the both of them, and every bit has been grinding him down. But it seems like Peter never budges, it never phases him. He doesn't compromise, he never quits. Harry's gotta know, how do you do it? This is what shows us a glimpse of years ago, when MJ first found out she was pregnant. The two of them were terrified, not really sure what they were gonna do. Life is beginning for them, and they're not sure if a child is the best thing right now at this time. But she also thinks that she would be a great mom. This is where Peter kind of downplays it, like, that job's just really a glorified internship, like, we should do this. Like, for Peter, it took 20 minutes of knowing MJ to know that he was in love with her. It took him about a week to know that he was gonna love her forever. People may think we're crazy, but let them. And in this moment, MJ proposes. The two of them are in this together no matter what. This is what takes us to the epilogue. The Parkers are finally able to see their apartment again. Finally be back in it. But they can't move in just yet. They gotta see how everything really unfolds in the world before they actually move back, because his identity was exposed. People know who he is. But this is their home. Getting on the topic of the conversation with Harry, Harry's been struggling. He lost his wife and everything. The AI of his father has been talking to him. Like, he's got a lot of stuff going on. And he asked me how I did it. How do I not move when the world is spinning so violently around me? And Peter, he told him what Harry, at least what he thought Harry needed to hear. But he spent years thinking that he was missing something in life. And that something, this gift, these powers, they were actually stolen from him. But when he did finally get them, he learned something more important. Something was missing, but it wasn't what mattered, because he already had everything he truly wanted. He just didn't know. He didn't really figure it out at the time, but now, there is no question about it. He has everything that he needs. And that will be the end of Ultimate Spider-Man. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Ultimate Spider-Man, hands down, probably the best title to come out of the Ultimate Universe. Ultimate Spider-Man is a gift that just keeps on giving, and I think they're teasing us with the end. We gotta have more coming. Like, you can't, this is a cash cow for him, you know what I'm saying? You really gonna end it right now when you're at the height, absolute universe for DC Comics is blowing up? I don't think you guys are ending these stories. They're doing too good for your companies to end these stories as they are. Like, this might be the perfect Peter Parker story. Like, I know that's a lot. Like, but I think it might be true. This might be, maybe I'm just too biased. How about this? This is hands down my favorite Peter Parker story ever told. Without question, right here, the best Peter Parker has ever been written. Now, Peter is definitely gonna have some kind of play as we move into the Ultimate Endgame stories and so on and so forth. I only pray that this isn't actually the end. I hope it's not, because I need more. I want more. Give me more. Let's go. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your theories. If you want to get caught up on everything happening with the Ultimate Universe or the Absolute Universe, both Marvel, DC, respectively, check out the links in my description as well as the top of this video. That's going to get you caught up on everything that has been going on with this story so far. If you want to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, make sure you're hitting the hype button, liking the videos, the whole 9 yards. I appreciate it. And with that being said, until the next breakdown.